It's Wednesday, November 12th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Needles and vials are found littered across a popular maritime beach. Friendship endures. Nova Scotia prepares its annual Christmas tree for Boston.
Wet weather for Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island tomorrow. A chance of flurries or showers in New Brunswick.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. A regular beach goer is warning people to watch their step. He was startled to find syringes and vials scattered across a popular Halifax area beach. CTV's Jonathan McGinnis reports.
A dangerous situation is popping up on Crystal Crescent Beach just outside of Halifax. A number of syringes and mostly empty vials with a label that identifies the contents as testosterone have been found over the last 2 days.
My partner Sarah noticed something in the sand and we picked it up, and sure enough it was a syringe, a needle. It had a cap on it, but it was a syringe.
In total, they picked up about 24 needles and a couple vials.
So it looked almost as if things had washed ashore. I ran or walked a couple lengths of the beach picking them up, and I continued to find them almost as if they're coming in with the waves. There's a lot of wave activity yesterday as well. So it looked as though they had come from offshore.
Jeff Sutherland and his partner reported what they found to the Department of Natural Resources, and were told someone was sent here today to look for more needles, but none were found. When CTV arrived this afternoon, we discovered 2 more needles, one on the sand and another half buried, pointing upward.
I can't believe that a human being would potentially be that low to dump stuff in the water that is hazardous to people's health.
Area MLA Brendan McGuire has asked the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans, as well as the Coast Guard, to get involved.
So we're going to do our part and go down there and monitor and continue to clean up. And we're hoping that, and I'm sure they will, the feds will come aboard and send the Coast Guard down and take a look to see if this stuff is floating in the water, and if it is, clean it up.
McGuire says it could also be an issue for the RCMP if the debris can be traced back to where it came from. Jonathan McGinnis, CTV News, Sambro, Nova Scotia.
Sources have confirmed to CTV News a New Brunswick mine is on the Prime Minister's list of nation-building projects to be announced tomorrow. The proposed mine, just north of Fredericton, has a tenuous relationship with nearby communities. CTV's Laura Brown has more.
You might consider this the middle of nowhere. About 70 kilometers north of Fredericton, down logging roads, this is around the area where the Sisson mine was slated to be built. The government of New Brunswick has said it's home to one of the largest undeveloped tungsten deposits in the world. And while there were a couple of years of exploration and construction activity, for the last 8 years, these roads have gone quiet.
I got about a month's work out of it up there.
Sidney McKay says about a decade ago, he was contracted to haul gravel up to the mine site. He lives in Stanley, about 20 kilometers away, and believes the saying, between a rock and a hard place, accurately describes how the village is feeling about the mine.
It's hard. The boost to the community would most certainly be welcome, and then on the other end, the environmental impact of it.
The mine is back in the news because sources have confirmed to CTV that it's one of Prime Minister Mark Carney's nation-building projects, supposed to be officially announced tomorrow. Earlier this week, New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt alluded to the mine being included on Carney's list.
Yes, that's right. New Brunswick will be in the major projects list announced on Thursday.
Tungsten is a strong metal that has a high melting point, which makes it a desirable material to use for military equipment. Over the summer, Ottawa gave $8.2 million, and the U.S. Defense Department gave almost $21 million to the company behind the mine, Northcliffe Resources. Officials with the company have said that the mine could employ over 300 people and cost upwards of $500 million to develop. Laura Brown, CTV News, Stanley, New Brunswick.
Tonight, police in St. John are investigating the city's latest murder. Officers responded to shots fired around 11 o'clock last night in the South End. A 42-year-old male was found unconscious on St. James Street. He was pronounced dead in hospital later. No arrests have been made. Police are asking those living nearby for any video footage from the time of that shooting. Living in New Brunswick can be expensive. A new report finds the average person needs to make almost $25 an hour to live comfortably. As Avery McRae reports, only about half of the workers in the province are in that group.
On UNBSJ's campus, students are learning their craft before entering the workforce. But just how much will they need to make to live comfortably in New Brunswick?
I think that a livable wage would be 20 and up.
Kinshi Ladapo Daniel was shocked to learn a new report released by the New Brunswick-based Human Development Council found one needs to make closer to $25 an hour.
Oh my goodness. Wow. It's kind of sad that today someone has to make $25 an hour just to survive in New Brunswick. Is heartbreaking.
A living wage is a calculated number that allows one to avoid financial stress while still living an enjoyable lifestyle. The numbers, based off a family of 4 with 2 children, sees workers in St. John needing to earn $24.49 an hour to live comfortably. In Moncton, the number is at $24.43, while the number for Fredericton residents jumps to $26.05 an hour. The provincial average for a living wage is $24.77.
I imagine it could be really discouraging to hear. I know in previous years, people have contacted us after hearing about us on the news or wherever, and just saying like, well, I don't know, maybe I don't buy it, or I'm a small business owner and I would love to pay a living wage, but I can't.
In breaking down where the household dollars are going, 26% goes towards shelter, food makes up for 20%, childcare is at 16%, and household expenses and transportation account for 10%. The budget does not include retirement or post-secondary education savings.
Most people have to make sacrifices. There's no retirement savings, or sacrifices are being made with respect to healthy food, or the family's not able to cover any sort of emergency expense.
When comparing the living wage number to the province's minimum wage, it's more than a $9 difference. New Brunswick's minimum wage currently sits at $15.65 an hour. A big difference in the minimum and living wage numbers is not the news student Charlie Kavanaugh was looking for.
Wow, that's a big difference.
According to the council, nearly half of New Brunswickers make less than a living wage. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Online, the recent rainfall has been enough for Halifax Water to end its mandatory water conservation order, but it's still asking customers to limit use, and you can read the details at our website there, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Well, maybe you saw them on social media, or maybe you went outside and saw them, those dazzling northern lights across the Maritimes overnight. Take a look at this. Here are some of the shots captured by our viewers in the small hours of last night. The forecast shows a repeat is likely tonight over nearly every province. New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and parts of Nova Scotia fall within the so-called view line.
It had to do with the strength of this geomagnetic storm that we had last night, and that continues on through today. It was very strong, produced a lot of colors in the sky that were very high in altitude. So you've got to have clear skies to be able to see them, and I think we were just really lucky with a lot of folks having clear skies.
The light show is expected to peak in intensity sometime between 8 and 11 o'clock. So, will it be a clear night to get those types of views? Kayla Mitchell with us now in the Weather Center. What do you think?
Well, like last night, there is going to be some cloud cover present in the Maritimes. For those who are heading out to hopefully catch a glimpse of the northern lights, you are going to have to look for breaks in that cloud cover. And for some areas, it just may be a pretty cloudy sky. We'll talk more about that in detail in a moment. So last night was a severe or G4 geomagnetic storm. Latest update from the Space Weather Prediction Center is that heading into this evening, it is a strong G3 geomagnetic storm. Possible aurora display is likely, but maybe not quite as active as it was last night. And one of the things you can use to look at that is the KP index. That's basically an index where if it gets up towards the 7s and 8s like we had last night, then you get a pretty good display of the aurora. Oftentimes when it's in the 6s, which is what's forecast for this evening and tonight, the aurora is present, but it's a little bit closer to the northern horizon and can be a little bit fainter in color. It looks like it's going to be peaking, as Todd mentioned, up to around shortly after midnight, and then lowering as we head into the early morning hours of Thursday. Cloud conditions. So we do have cloud cover that is increasing right now in western parts of New Brunswick and especially across mainland Nova Scotia, where it is expected to be followed up in the southwest of that province by some showers. So those will be your cloudiest areas moving through the first part of tonight. Now, some of that cloud cover will eventually spread towards eastern parts of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. But it's the north and eastern New Brunswick, PEI, and northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia that might have the best bet as far as having breaks in that cloud cover or seeing it basically not increase as quickly as it looks like it's going to be for areas a little bit further towards the west and the southwest. Now, I mentioned that that's going to be followed up by a little bit of wet weather. There are expected to be some showers that develop in the southwest of Nova Scotia for tonight and may brush up around the Atlantic coastline of that province. And then for tomorrow, some rain and showers are expected to wrap back across eastern areas of Nova Scotia and into parts of Prince Edward Island, bringing in some additional rainfall amounts of around 2 to 10 millimeters. But I'll talk more about Thursday's forecast, the extended forecast, Todd, when I'm back a little bit later.
So, folks in Bathurst and Campbellton in particular, grab your cameras.
My fingers crossed for you.
Right? Yeah. Send them to us if you get good pics. All right. We'll see you later in the show. You'll need to mask up to enter the region's children's hospital. The IWK in Halifax has issued a mandate in response to respiratory illnesses. It comes as flu cases are now on the rise. Here's CTV's Hafsa Arf.
At pharmacies across the province, appointments are filling fast. Many people are eager to roll up their sleeves for both the flu and COVID shots.
It's a really busy time of year for most pharmacies that are giving flu shots and COVID vaccines. So it is a time when flu and COVID start to be more prevalent around.
But this year's flu shot might not be packing the same punch. The flu strain circulating in Canada this year may not be a perfect match with the vaccine. That could mean lower protection for some.
You try and predict what's going to emerge, but the virus mutates very quickly. And some years that match is very good. Some years it's not as good. We may be running into a situation this.
The flu shot is developed months in advance, based on global data from places like Australia, where the H3N2 strain caused a particular severe flu season.
It's never a perfect match, probably. And the vaccine can vary in effectiveness. They usually don't have the best idea of this until the end of the year.
For many, some protection is better than none.
I'm in my late 70s, and my wife and I are both at that point where we wanted to protect ourselves.
As someone who is a diabetic, it's important for me to take the flu shot because people who are diabetic, need that extra layer of protection.
My family never really got flu shots. So it's just something that I never really picked up on doing myself.
While the match may not be perfect, doctors say the flu shot can still mean the difference between a few days of discomfort or ending up in a hospital. Hafsa Arf, CTV News, Halifax.
First, opponents pressed City Hall to block the infilling of a cove on the Dartmouth waterfront. Today, they were at provincial offices to do the same. They fear the Nova Scotia government might step in and allow the project to go ahead. CTV's Calvin Smith has an update on the situation.
That's what some have been saying for years.
The municipality was finally able to take the step to bring in bylaws to limit infilling in Dartmouth Cove, just as they did a year ago at the Northwest Arm. And that's a really big thing for us.
That happened officially last month, but later in October, Transport Canada issued an amended approval for infilling work in Dartmouth Cove. Worry reignited 2 weeks ago when the Premier responded to the city's restrictions.
There's a lot of thought that the motion itself is ambiguous. It's not actually clear. It needs a serious look from the minister.
Something that irked the local councillor, fearing political overreach, and
you look at where the community has moved over the last couple of decades. People want to be downtown again, and part of that is the waterfront is like the big opportunity, and we shouldn't screw that up by turning it into a rocky moonscape with no plan.
The company behind the project says HRM shouldn't have a say.
Jurisdiction for infilling lands is entirely federal. There's no recognition for municipal involvement in that permitting process.
Atlantic Road Construction and Paving says environmental concerns are a moot point.
We've met with as many people as we can to explain the issue with the pyritic slate, the horrendous environmental record that exists in Dartmouth Cove, and how our project's going to redevelop the fisheries habitat, cap the contamination, and have less exposure to deadly heavy metals and carcinogens that exist in the cove right now.
As for people looking at the Northwest Arm, which Halifax's restrictions went unopposed, the company says that's a recreational body of water, and Dartmouth Cove is part of the working harbour.
Dartmouth Cove is a very important part of our coast that's used for active transportation, for recreation, and that, private sector friend of Tim Houston's wants to turn into a dump.
In response to those concerns, he points to King's Wharf as a nearby example where infill has been a success. Now, while the area would be infilled with non-acidic quarry rock and pyritic slate, Atlantic Road Construction Paving says housing is the goal. As for the province's review, a deadline for its decision to potentially overturn Halifax Council's motion is just over 2 weeks away, due November 28th. Todd.
All right, a messy one. Callum in the newsroom, thank you tonight. Dozens of affordable housing units in Moncton will be getting much-needed upgrades. 39 rental homes will be renovated and offered to seniors in the city. CTV's Derek Haggett has details.
Renovations at the Golden Terraces in downtown Moncton are great news for the people who manage the building and those who live there.
Oh, it's very wonderful. We all get along. It's very nice and friendly.
It will soon look even better once modern upgrades are done to the downtown apartment building. Some work, like windows and siding, have already been done. There's currently a wait list of 300 seniors who want to live here because the rent is reasonable.
Oh yes, the rents are starting from $625 to $735, 1 and 2 bedrooms.
New money from Ottawa and the province, roughly $1 million, will provide mini splits, upgrades to the electrical system, siding and windows, and a new elevator to improve accessibility. The property manager says if the money hadn't come through,
probably close.
Getting fixed up and staying open, a relief to residents.
I don't know what I would have done because the apartments are $1,500 for 1 bedroom and I can't afford that.
The province says the urgency was obvious here to improve the lives of tenants.
We need to make sure that seniors have that stability and that dignity of housing, especially in situations where homelessness is becoming more and more the only option for seniors in Moncton.
The work offers peace of mind to seniors who can feel comfortable knowing they have a future here. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Get the Maritimes top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The world's top men's curling teams will be hurrying hard to St. John in 2027. The port city will play host to the BKT World Men's Curling Championship in the spring of that year at TD Station. St. John has previously hosted World Curling Championships back in 1999 and 2014. The 2027 event will be historic as it will mark the first World Championships with an expanded field, going from 13 teams to 18.
So it's going to be a new format, but also importantly from an economic impact standpoint, obviously that's 5 more teams worth of players and support staff and fans that will produce more heads and beds that the local hotels will certainly appreciate as well.
Many volunteers will be needed to pull off the event, of course, and information on how to get involved will be released soon. So will information about buying tickets. That could be in the spring. The relationship might be strained a little, but some things are bigger than the current trade tensions. And so a Christmas tradition continued today. Nova Scotia hoisted its annual gift to the people of Boston and loaded it up for the drive to New England. This year's majestic tree is a white spruce from Lunenburg County, planted by the Feener family. Nearly 14 meters in length, it will make its way to Boston Common as thanks for that city's help with the Halifax explosion recovery in 1917. And Katie Kelly will have a lot more on this later in the show. All right, time for us to take our first break of the night. Still to come, showers returns for parts of Nova Scotia. Cable will have the details, but next, not in my backyard.
It has single family homes, townhouses, semi-detached.
A proposed neighborhood and environment and growth concerns collide. That story is next. It's become routine. A neighborhood is proposed with all kinds of promises like easing the housing crunch. Then comes opposition, usually citing environmental or traffic concerns. Well, that's what's playing out in an area just outside Halifax. CTV's Jesse Thomas has the story.
Dozens of people packed a public meeting in Bedford, weighing in on a proposal that could reshape 600 acres of land around Sandy Lake.
It has single-family homes, townhouses, semi-detached, commercial, institutional sites for future school sites.
The plan calls for approximately 6,400 units, with 33% of the area being green space. But it's the protection of that natural environment and the watershed that are top concerns from residents, says Area Councillor John Young.
We would like to have opportunity to discuss more things like the floodplain, the wildlife corridors, conservation corridors.
The public consultation was hosted by HRM, but it's the province that's in control. Sandy Lake was designated a special planning area in 2022, giving the provincial housing minister the final say, not Halifax Council.
We will conduct the planning process as per our usual process. The main difference is that normally this would go to regional council. We would have a public hearing and this would go to regional council to be debated. In this case, we'll make our position to the executive panel on housing, and they will make a recommendation to the Minister of Housing.
The Ecology Action Centre set up an information booth urging the province to develop somewhere else, saying there's other land options.
Those are still on the table, so the best outcome for all ways, traffic, cost to the taxpayer and the environment, is to not have development here, not be a special planning area, and go ahead with the areas that are better for the city.
Bedford Area Councillor Jean Saint-Amand says the cost of new infrastructure like utility services and storm and wastewater infrastructure alone would cost millions, something he says the province should pay up.
Show us the money. Really, ultimately, we need their partnership. When we don't have the ability to operate at a deficit, we can't take on this kind of capital infrastructure expansion ourselves.
Planners say it's likely to take 2 more years before any recommendations reach the minister. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Bedford, Nova Scotia.
Still to come, rain and showers for parts of the Maritimes tomorrow. Kalen Mitchell is working on his full maritime forecast. He'll have that for us after these commercial messages. What a difference a couple of weeks makes. This is the Shubenacadie River flowing through Enfield this afternoon. Certainly a far cry from what we've seen with the river. Well, pretty much throughout the entire fall, Kalen Mitchell.
Yeah, that's right. So the areas surrounding that river system picked up about 100 to 150 millimeters of rain since that wet weather sort of began leading up to Halloween, and then continued into the first part of November here. Now, of course, we know that those rain, that water runoff, is going to head towards the river systems first, right? Yep. Things like the groundwater level tables will take a while to recover. So we still need more wet weather, but it's been a good start, and I'll be interested to see what the drought monitor updates the region as at the end of this month, so at the end of November. Let's take a look at something else that happened in behind the rain, though, and that was some snow showers that came through last night, and did leave a little skiff of snow, and for some areas up to around a few centimeters. These are some snowfall reports from this morning. You can see around the Truro area, around 4 centimeters reported there. Other parts of the Maritimes, coating up to around 1 centimeter or 2, and that happened as that colder air moved into the back edge of that weather front as it was moving past the region. Taking a look at weather conditions across the country, we've got rain right now in Vancouver. We're seeing cooler temperatures in Alberta, 5 right now at Edmonton and Calgary. Not doing too bad at Saskatoon and Regina, sitting at 7 degrees right now. Winnipeg sitting at +5. Moving off towards the east, Toronto at 5 degrees, near 0 for Ottawa. Montreal has had to contend with some snow. They're currently sitting at +2 though. 2 degrees at Fredericton, 4 at Halifax, 5 at Charlottetown this hour, and 4 at St. John's. Taking a look look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. I talked about this a little bit earlier. There is cloud cover increasing for the Maritimes this evening and tonight, mostly in the west of New Brunswick, as well as mainland Nova Scotia, where it is expected to be accompanied by some showers for the southwest of that province as we move through tonight. And then a few of those showers may brush up the Atlantic coastline towards the eastern shore before a round of rain and showers wraps back across the east of Nova Scotia, including parts of Cape Breton and the North Shore, and into Prince Edward Island for tomorrow. Even a higher chance of some of those showers around the southeast of New Brunswick, including the Moncton area. For the remainder of Nova Scotia on Thursday, there will be a chance of some showers for the rest of the province, so basically northern, central, and southwestern areas. And in New Brunswick, aside from in the southeastern corner, where the showers are more likely around Moncton, it's a lower chance of a shower or flurry throughout the day. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow. So today, they were very gusty out of the west. Tomorrow's winds will be mostly out of the north and northeast, and they come down a little bit as far as the overall wind speeds go. They'll be sustained between 10 and 20 kilometers per hour with gusts between 20 and 30. We still have chilly temperatures in the forecast for tonight. Lows for New Brunswick between -6 and 0, down to around 1 degree for many communities in Prince Edward Island tonight, and a lot of low temperatures for Nova Scotia between 0 and 4. High temperatures in the forecast for Thursday in northern areas of New Brunswick, 2 at Edmundston, 3 at Grand Falls, and then 3 at Bathurst and 4 at Miramichi. Fredericton tomorrow with a high temperature near 5 degrees, 6 at St. John, and 4 degrees for Moncton in the southeast. In Prince Edward Island, we're looking at high temperatures near 4 for O'Leary, 5 for Summerside and Charlottetown, 6 for Montague, and 7 at Surrey. Cape Breton tomorrow with high temperatures mostly between 6 and 8 degrees, including 7 at Sydney and 8 at Port Hawkesbury, 6 for New Glasgow and Antigonish, and then 8 for Canso and Ecum-Secum. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia, high temperatures 4 at Amherst, 5 at Truro, 7 for the city centres Halifax and Dartmouth. The Annapolis Valley with highs near 6 degrees for tomorrow, and on the South Shore and in the southwest of Nova Scotia, 8 for Bridgewater and Shelburne and 7 for Yarmouth. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, coming up at the end of this week, mix of sun and cloud, but chilly temperatures. A mix of snow and rain looks likely to pass through the province on Sunday. After that, we start off next week, still chilly with a mix of sun and cloud Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Mostly overnight low temperatures expected to be at least a few degrees below the freezing mark. For Nova Scotia, the outlook, temperatures below seasonable for most of the next several days as well. Showers expected on Friday with a chance of flurries, especially for eastern parts of the province on Saturday. Rain in the forecast for Sunday. Cloudy periods to start off next week and still cool Tuesday and Wednesday. And for Prince Edward Island, the forecast, showers on Friday, and then a chance of flurries on Saturday as temperatures turn a little bit chilly, highs near 2 degrees on that day. Rain in the forecast for Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, cool through the start of next week, Todd.
You think that skiff of snow has people racing to get their tires swapped?
Well, it's certainly a little bit of a heads up that it can happen this time of the year. Yeah. So you should probably be thinking about getting that done.
Yeah, it's about that time. All right, we'll see you later in the show. Next, some startling numbers about young men and anger. And Katie and the Christmas tree on the scene.
I'm Katie Kelly in Lunenburg, where this year's Tree for Boston was cut this morning. Coming up, I'm going to tell you all about this 45-foot white spruce tree and the family who grew it.
Welcome back. We're going to talk a bit tonight about an extensive survey by the Canadian Men's Health Foundation that shows some troubling statistics when it comes to levels of anger, anxiety, and hopelessness that affects every aspect of daily life for men. Here's a couple numbers. The survey of 2,000 men by the organization found half of the men aged 19 to 29 are at risk of problem anger, and nearly 40% of them admitted they wanted to hit someone in the past month when the survey was conducted. That's compared to 16% of all Canadian men. It's a disturbing number. Kenton Boston is CEO and president of the Canadian Men's Health Foundation, and he joins us from BC's Okanagan Valley. Kenton, these are worrying numbers, but you know, somehow they just don't seem that surprising.
Yeah, sadly, that's the reality, isn't it? We're inundated with kind of the negative side of society right now, and the negative impact from the manosphere. If I said the word manosphere or toxic masculinity, you know, these are phrases that are often in the conversation right now. And the negative side is the impact that that's having on all of us, families, but young men in particular.
I mean, those terms came about for a reason, right? And there are things that are being explored now that needed to be looked at for a long time. But why are young men, I don't know, seemingly so prone to anger now, perhaps more so than a decade ago?
There's a few different reasons. Top of mind as you ask the question is the role of social media. It's the digital impact. If you look at what happened in the U.S. with President Trump and his election and his support base, kind of right-leaning younger men, that's a real focus for us. And that's to understand the power of technology that is supported by all the big companies that support, make money off this sense of anger, this sense of resiliency that I have the right way that lives on social media. That's a huge negative impact for people. There is a positive side, the reach out, the digital applications. So we're not saying that it's solely about social media, but it certainly plays an influence. And it really prompts us down, and we're right now asking for funding to do more research to understand and contradict or overpower that sense of the parasocial influence on young men. Yeah. And that is the simple thing of advocating for families, advocating that it's about creating a safe space for younger men and their parents, and understanding that it's about communication. We had a program in the springtime that was called You're Not Alone. And it's to counter this idea that is social media prevalent, that is, get on your device and talk to your one friend or two friends. It's about building the network. And that's what we're really focused on right now.
Yeah, there is that echo chamber, right? But there's also, it almost seems like a shorter fuse in some of these young men now than, maybe when I was growing up.
I think that's a big part of it, but I think most importantly is because there is no role model. I remember when my son was in his teens, he's now just turned 30, believe it or not. And it was his lack of role model as society changes. And that's the other thing that is at play right now, is that people are trying to figure out the role of young men, and they themselves are trying to figure out as they look at this idea of, being a manly man, if I could use that, and what is our possibility of affording a home at the age of 30, and is that a possibility? Not to say that it's about that role anymore. Society is changing, but men and young boys are needing to find their place. It's about a culture shift, and if you've been through that on the work side, any of us, culture shifts and shifts in thoughts and beliefs take time, and that's why we're really encouraging everyone to get involved and act the sense of community, bring that sense of community back, that it's not just on the young people, it's about their support networks and making sure that it's a conversation, and reach out to those people that may be more distant, who may be willing to, remove themselves from the family situation. But it's about all of us coming together to provide alternatives and to support them.
You still see a stigma around asking for help?
Huge. Yeah. Ask me right now how I am today. Fine. It's ingrained in us for a whole bunch of reasons. And as at the Canadian Men's Health Foundation, we spend a great deal of time, wordsmithing, if I could use that. How do we reach out to men? And last year we had a program we do this year coming up. It's called Health Check, and it's about the 8-9 chronic diseases that people get as you tick along in age. And we know that if you're younger, that you have a better chance of avoiding the things that affect us, like diabetes, like heart disease, low testosterone, prostate cancer. And how do we do that? It's novel things that have been around for a long time. It says sleep 8 hours a night, eat better, exercise, and rest. And we went through last year and said we wanted to target younger men. And we said, hey, lower your risk. And a psychologist friend of mine said, lower your risk of what, Kenton? Don't you remember when you're 21, 22, 19, lower your risk of? And that really opened our eyes about the power of language to say, get stronger, take that perspective, and you can reach more people that way.
I got about 30 seconds left here. Is there a way to turn those numbers around? Now, you've talked about it, but do you see, is there a silver lining here?
We've got programs right now that do offer some insight, but it's a journey. We're beginning the journey. I think we're starting to recognize the problem, and it's going to be up to all of us to come together to drive that forward, use the solutions, use what's there, but don't stop talking.
Okay, well, that's some good advice, and the numbers are startling. As I mentioned, it's all available on your survey on the website, Kent and Boston with the Men's Health Foundation. Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more. Stay with us. In medical news tonight, protecting brain health by cutting back on alcohol consumption. CTV's Amanda Debison has that and more in the midweek edition of The Lifeline.
A new study is adding to the body of evidence drinking too much alcohol could put you at higher risk of brain issues. According to a new study published in the journal Neurology, heavy alcohol use was associated with more severe brain bleeds or bleeding strokes and earlier long-term brain damage. Heavy alcohol use was defined as regularly consuming 3 or more drinks per day. People in that cohort also had brain bleeds on average 11 years younger than those who drank less alcohol. Finally, longer walks may be the key to a healthy heart. A new study showed a lower risk of heart disease in adults that walk in spans of 15 minutes or longer per day. Researchers studied older adults in the UK for over a decade. The study found that people who walked in longer spurts had the lowest risk of dying of heart disease. That's compared to people who don't take long walks. Those folks had the highest risk. Researchers say it's never too late to start walking. With health and medical news, I'm Amanda Debison for The Lifeline.
You know, there are certain stories that come up every year. They're always on the calendar. This is one of our favorites, a time-honored tradition. What would you say, rooted in gratitude?
Absolutely. Yeah. Today in Martinsbrook, Nova Scotia, the 2025 tree for Boston was cut, a gift that dates back more than a century. Another year, another roar of the chainsaw, and another message of thanks headed south. In Lunenburg County, a 13.7-meter white spruce became Nova Scotia's 2025 Tree for Boston. Busloads of local students poured in to watch, a front-row lesson in history, community, and neighborly care. When you got the word that this was going to be the Tree for Boston, how were you guys feeling?
Hooray, good!
The tree was nominated by former homeowners Ronald and Claire Feener, who raised it from a seedling.
The tree was planted when it was probably about a foot big, and probably 42 years ago, decorated it for Christmas when it got big enough with lights and bows, and then when it got a little bit bigger, it was like, well, maybe we can grow this for Boston. And so it's a dream come true that it's finally going.
With the new homeowner's blessing, of course. Do the owners know you're doing this? Are they away on vacation somewhere, or have they approved?
They have approved.
And for the first time, a Boston mayor came to see the tree cut in person.
I am so proud and so honored to bring greetings from the people of Boston and tremendous gratitude for this very special gift.
Michelle Wu made her first trip to Nova Scotia with her family to say thank you and bring a message that friendship can outlast politics.
There was a moment where I wondered if Nova Scotia was still going to want to continue this tradition. I picked up the phone and called Premier Houston, and we had a lovely conversation and reaffirmed that this friendship dates back over a century and will continue on long after a particular presidential administration or regime.
She even took a turn on the saw.
This is my first time using a chainsaw, and for a good purpose.
The cut, clean. Her message, clear.
I hope the administration passes quickly. We are every single day bracing against the impacts that our families are feeling, and I know that is having ripple effects all around the world as well. So I wanted to make sure that we reaffirmed our very special bond of neighborly care with our neighbors to the north, and this is a tradition that is now decades in the making. It is a relationship that is centuries in the making, and these bonds will hold.
A sentiment echoed by Lunenburg's MLA Susan Corkum-Greek.
We will always have politics. We will always have issues on the table that we will have to deal with. But I think this year more than ever, it is super important to maintain this symbol of our friendship and our camaraderie and the things that we do share.
The day's other showstopper, tree cutter Waddy Long.
I'm a Montreal fan. You want to see how far Nova Scotia will go to show that we appreciate friendship? I'm wearing a Boston jersey.
Wow, that is saying something.
Because today, I say this every year, we're all Boston fans today.
On December 4th, this white spruce will light up Boston Common. The gift traces back to the 1917 Halifax explosion, when Boston sent much-needed help, and Nova Scotia has said thank you with the tree ever since. For the Feener family, it's an ending and a beginning, rooted in tradition.
Isn't the tree gorgeous? Beautiful. That was my first time ever attending a tree cutting. I haven't been part of any of this before. I actually emceed the event. It was so much fun.
You know, Waddy said it perfectly, and if you are a Montreal fan, you know how painful that must have been to put on a Bruins jersey of all things, but that's how much it means.
Yes.
And politics, come on.
Yeah, everybody there was in a great mood. Everybody loved having the Boston mayor there and thought that was great. The kids, it was so fun to see the look on the kids' faces, and when the tree actually hit the ground, they were like, yay! It was just a great time.
You know, I think if anybody's watching this story, maybe is not from around here, watching us tonight, and they see that, how odd it must be to see people celebrating a big tree in their yard coming down. But that's how much it means, folks.
For sure, and I mean, this is a tradition for us and for them. If you missed today, you can still catch a glimpse of the tree when it will be on display Saturday night in Halifax's Parade of Lights before its trip to Boston for the 84th annual tree lighting ceremony. And this is cool too. You can also follow the journey of the Tree for Boston on social media. So just look up Tree for Boston and you can see pictures. They do posts along the way and you can watch its journey. So that's cool too.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Here's what's on CTV later. Another strong day for the Dow Jones. It closed up 326 points. Canadians still shunning travel to the U.S. Travel across the border down dramatically. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has the numbers.
30% fewer Canadians made the drive across the border last month compared to October of 2024. It is the 10th straight month of lower border traffic. Canadians started turning away from those car trips a month after the U.S. president was elected. The number of Canadians flying to the U.S. also dropped last month by 24%. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 71.43. West Texas Intermediate crude is down over $2.50 to 58.49. Western Canadian Select is up almost $1 to 49.25. And the TSX gained 418 points for a new record close of 30,827. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
So the business numbers are up. Kaylin, how about the temperatures?
They're down a little bit, Todd. It's a brisk November evening out here on the weather deck in the north end of Halifax. It is as it is across much of the Maritimes. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight. And this is beautiful shots coming in from that display of the Aurora Borealis from last night. This was sent in from Barry Burgess from the Aspestogan area of Nova Scotia. Thank you very much, Barry, for sharing that with us. We do have a gallery of some Northern Lights pictures that were taken in the Maritimes up on our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Aspestogan for tomorrow, cloudy with sunny breaks, little peaks of sunshine. Low chance of a shower throughout the day, about a 30 or 40% chance. High temperature near 7 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, first thing in the morning, rain and showers working their way across eastern areas of Nova Scotia, Eastern Shore, North Shore, Cape Breton, and towards Prince Edward Island. Other parts of the region will have a chance of a shower or flurry, including in New Brunswick, but again, it's a lower chance, about a 30% chance for any given community. The afternoon on the cool side, there'll be some showers present still in Prince Edward Island and in Nova Scotia, and temperatures mostly around the low to mid single digits. Todd.
Okay, and again, our friends in northern New Brunswick, Bathurst, Hamilton, they should be heading outside, what, an hour or so, right?
Yeah, keep an eye out.
Yeah, okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Finally, tonight, we got a look at a $14 million handbag. Here it is, the original bag, custom made for actress Jane Birkin, which became one of the era-defining designs of the 20th century, was revealed to the media in Tokyo today. A Japanese company purchased the Birkin bag for a staggering 8.6 million euros. That works out to about 14 million Canadian. That was at an auction in Paris in July. About a month before the auction, news about the Birkin bag was widely covered in Japan, which sparked all kinds of interest. The bag will soon be unveiled to the public for about a week later this month. And that is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco here with an update at 11:30. CTVnews.ca has the updates. I'm Todd Battis. Have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritimes' #1 newscast.